The Buzz with Jess Lujan.
We're back with my in-studio guest, of course, Mr. Tim Rohr. We're talking about, of course, the situation with the Archdiocese here on Guam. Tim, we often hear about the transfer of property, and we've tried to clear it up. He was still confused as well, as we are. A little bit more clarification in regards to the property, the RMS property up there in Jonah that was once the Archdiocese, belonged to the Archdiocese. I know former Senator Bob Klitzkin, former colleague, is trying to get to the bottom of it. He thought he has, and then until such a point they kind of shut him down in the communication, right? Anyway, your understanding of that.
Yeah, the Seminary Corporation was set up as simply to actually facilitate a property grab, a rather valuable property grab. The former legal counsel for the Archdiocese estimates to be worth about $75 million. That property was considered part of the patrimony of the Archdiocese of Agana, basically an asset to the Archdiocese. In 2011, I have all the corporate notes showing exactly what happened. The Archbishop, actually it wasn't just the Archbishop, it was the Generinis, who ordered Prawn to transfer title to RMS. Now RMS is a separate Guam corporation, separate from the Archdiocese of Agana, has its own board. So he ordered the title to be transferred. They sort of gave a pretext for that, some kind of protecting the property. We didn't know all these victims were going to be coming out back then, but they must have known. But they were going to transfer title to RMS in order to transfer any asset that's worth over $1 million. Church law requires the bishop to get the consent of the Archdiocesan Finance Council and the Holy See, Rome itself. The Finance Council voted no. We're not going to hand over title. So I actually have the notes showing Ed Terlahi was legal counsel at the time, showing that he had told Prawn, says if you transfer this, you'll lose control. So the Finance Council voted no. All right. Then what happened? Unbeknownst to anybody, Prawn transferred that property anyway. That was in November of 2011. And then to cover his tracks, he fired the Finance Council, fired Richard Ontalon and all the others, and so then that was hidden. We didn't know. Nobody knew that property was transferred until January 2015 when I uncovered this document that was basically buried and hidden under a very clever title called Declaration of Deed Restriction. So it just looks like, okay, the deed is just being restricted for this, but the actual language of the deed is the language of conveyance. So we paid an attorney.
Which means I'm giving it to you.
Yeah, absolute conveyance. And in fact, that's the words the attorney used when he did a review of that. It says this is an absolute conveyance in fee simple. Okay, well, in real estate terms, that means that's not yours anymore. It doesn't matter what it says at the top. It matters what the actual language says. Well, when we uncovered that, these people went berserk. They started publishing stuff on the Umatuna every week saying, no, it belongs to us, and trying to prove it. They ran off to Denver or something, hired some legal firm that had no license to actually opine on anything in Guam. And then, of course, nobody could see it, and on and on and on. And we created such a ruckus that they actually were able to find a way to get a false certificate of title for that property, which left off that deed. Okay. Now, it doesn't matter what document is in the file, they all have to be recorded on the certificate of title. They can't just say, I don't want that one. Well, whatever they did, they found a way. Somebody over at Land Management gave them a copy of a certificate of title that left off that Declaration of Deed Restriction, okay? And then they published it, Monsignor David C. Kittigwa, which is why people are so angry. Right? Yes, why people are so angry that he's at Archbishop Han's side, because this is the real villain, okay? But he's right there at Han's side at everything, right? This is the real villain. He was the one that was behind getting that certificate of title, and then he used our Catholic newspaper to publish it. Okay, and it was an absolute lie. Well, I could go on, but just we have a Catholic clergy lying to us, using our Catholic newspaper to lie to us, to manipulate us, to slap us around, to do whatever they think they can do, to bilk us for millions of dollars. Okay. And, we've had it.
Now, Tim, let me go back, because they also said that this was the start, actually the RMS, the property up there in Jonia, was also the start of this whole thing, and that you were basically behind the conspiracy of this whole thing, because you had the interest, you wanted to sell this, and of course, they didn't allow you to do this, and you know, couldn't pad your pocket and all that.
I'm glad you brought that up, because you know, this is the lie that they have to live by, because the Archdiocese of Agana is a corporation sole. There's only one man who can sell, buy, trade, do anything, and that's the Archbishop of Agana. The Finance Council can't do it. An independent realtor can't do it. Nobody can do it. Only the Archbishop can. And this whole thing about the Archdiocese getting in debt, because they were saying that we wanted to sell the property to pay off the Archdiocese's debts. The only way the Archdiocese can incur debt is if the Archbishop himself signs on the banknote. Okay? All of this is Archbishop Apron, and look at what they're doing to cover that. Archbishop Apron incurred the debt. It was Monsignor James that got him out of the debt, because Monsignor James is a good marketer, and he found other people to actually donate to help pay down the debt that Apron himself created. But now they want to say that Chemroor, I'm not even licensed to sell property. My broker is. I can only represent my broker, right? So to condemn me would be condemn my broker. I don't think they want to go there, okay? But it really is a lie.
Well, they also said that Monsignor James was one they incurred the debt, and that's why they removed him from that capacity that he held. He was the one that
Monsignor James cannot incur a single penny of debt without the Archbishop's signature on it. And I have a copy of the loans and stuff that show Archbishop's signature on it. I even have a copy of a letter to Monsignor James from Archbishop Apron, praising him for his work that he did to renovate the cathedral and paying down the debt. Okay, but when it was time to get rid of Monsignor James, they created this false thing, which was immediately refuted by Art Logan and Joe Rivera.
Well, actually, even going further back, I mean, even before that, even before the removal of Monsignor James, with the situation with Father Paul, where he was accused of keeping on, again, an individual working there, and actually, you gave me documents basically where it said that was Apron's signature that allowed, after the individual had done his time. Again, paying his debt to society, his community service. He wanted to do, and of course, and the priest had to, of course, get the okay from the archdiocese, in which the archbishop, of course, Apron had to sign off on that. Am I mistaken in that?
You're absolutely right about that. The person that was blamed for, being a sex offender that was employed at Santa Barbara, had been allowed to work at Santa Barbara 13 years earlier by the Archbishop himself. Now, it was at Santa Barbara Parish. However, Santa Barbara Parish is not autonomous from the Archbishop. That's his parish. Anything that happens there is his business. Okay. And since this man was in prison for a rather serious crime, for him to work in a school and a church immediately upon release as part of his parole, obviously that would have been, if it was a danger at all, it would have been a lot more dangerous in the year 2000 than it was in 2013. But the Archbishop needed something to get rid of Father Paul. Now, why does he want to get rid of Father Paul and Monsignor James and whatever? Well, they've opposed the neo-catechumenal way, and they get their marching orders from Giuseppe Giannarini. I mean, Apron does. And Apron, David Kittigwa, and Cristobal have all conspired to completely eradicate this diocese of anybody that's in the way of Giuseppe Giannarini. And the fact that we were able to get in their way and stop them, that's what all this is about. And they've used our money in the name of our Catholic Church. Like, anytime you oppose Archbishop, we're opposing the Catholic Church. No, Archbishop, I don't even want to call him Archbishop. No, Mr. Apron, we're opposing your criminal acts. We're opposing your raping of little children. We're opposing your stealing of our property. We're opposing your lies, Mr. Apron. That's what we're about.
So, Tim, we spoke on radio about this, and in regards to a takeover or an interim administrative authority, and I kind of, and I was very optimistic in the very beginning, of course, and I said that I compare this to what we have in the as a federal receiver in the order dump situation, but in that sense, actually, there's a complete takeover. I mean, governor has no authority, the board has no authority, and actually, I mean, we could have, as a former lawmaker as well, we had all the opportunity in the world to do this, but we couldn't make that political decision. So the federal judge stepped in and says, okay, this is what I'm doing, and so absolutely, the judge has complete control, has the federal receiver, answers to nobody, answers answers not to the governor or any board or commission except to the federal judge.
Yeah.
And that's what I assume a takeover will be, but it hasn't been so. But I tell you what, I got to pay the bills, and when we come back, we got a couple minutes for you to explain
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Be right back.